Hey, what's up everybody? This is Jeff. So today we're going to make a video talking about whether or not living in Hawaii is overrated. Is it worth it? Is it going to be living up to what you expect? And I'm going to do my best to also go into some other areas that can assist you in making your decision about whether or not a move to Hawaii is going to fit your options. And is it good for you? Could it be good for you? Is there anything that you need to know? So I've read a couple comments recently about putting down the idea of living in Hawaii. Understandable. So I've read everything from people being upset, disenfranchised with the homelessness, the transient population, the drugs that take the drugs here, the um, disdain from locals who treat people um, in a way that makes them feel unwelcomed, and stuff like that. High cost of living. So in in short, I would say living in Hawaii for me has not been overrated. It's beautiful weather. I love beautiful weather. I get beautiful weather all the time. Sometimes it's hot. Um, and I just like being close to the ocean. I get energized by being around the ocean. Uh, it's fairly small town. It's enough for me to do in Hawaii, you know, um, to make it worth my while to want to stay here and continue to live here. However, there are some things that you're going to want to know that make this place um, maybe not so great for you. It's expensive, very expensive. Now, some of you guys are going to say, "Oh, wow, Jeff, you're trying to scare people away." No, it's expensive. I mean, rent's expensive. When you're trying to get a place here, people are like sticklers. They want to see like that you make $5,000 or $6,000 a month. And you're like, I just moved here. Where am I going to show you $5,000 or $6,000 a month? And they got so many people trying to move into these places. They're like, sorry. And you're like, okay. So people are they're not really trying to like there's not much accommodation for your for the demand. So how are you gonna make $5,000 or $6,000 if you're working, even $15 an hour as a carpenter or as um, a food prep? These places that brings me to my second point: food. Food here is not the bee's knees. It's not. I mean, you got the food's 90% of the food's imported, so it's not coming here fresh, right? It's coming on a boat. It takes 5 days on a boat to get here. So that's even if it's coming from Asia, maybe even longer than that, because Asia is a little bit farther away than the mainland, the United States. Um, so just the food economy in general is jacked up. Another thing about Hawaii, it's in short supply of they call it a brain drain. What that means is that there's not a lot of intellect or there's just not a lot. It's a laid back lifestyle. There's not a lot of sophistication that takes place here. Some people might miss sophisticated living here because it's going to be more white sand beaches and aloha spirit, laid back lifestyle. A lot of you are probably wondering, well, is this guy going to say anything good about it? Well, I'll get to that, but let me go through some of the things that you got to be aware of, because at the end of the day, you don't want any hidden. Because I've had people ask me, why don't you talk about these things? And so I'm doing it. I'm pinging on some of the stuff that I don't usually ping on, which is some of the negatives. Um, Another thing to consider is in some areas there's like black mold and bugs that you wouldn't want to see. Uh, you know, Black mold is stuff that can, if you're living in a rainy place like Hilo or Mountain View or Puna or Kauai or Maui, mold happens, and if you don't properly clean the stuff, you get black mold when it's in a rainy environment. Um, the bugs, sometimes there's insects. It's really not that bad with I've been to Australia, and I mean, Australia's got the jungle, but you'll be walking through Australia and you'll see a snake this big, or a lizard this big, or something else in the swamp. So it's not like Australia or the Amazon or anything. There's actually no like predatory land mammals here, so that's a good thing. Um, One thing I'm going to mention is the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. Uh, I don't want to play that off because let's just be real. There is a sovereignty movement that's against, you know, Americans and other people trying to, you know, take over Hawaii, essentially. Even in the news right now, Mark Zuckerberg is, he owns 700 acres on Kauai, and right now he's having to take people to court, Kamaina, which is people of the land, to court to get them to sell their property. Now, obviously, if you just go off the headline, you're like, Mr. Zuckerberg's in the wrong, but there's more details that go into that. But Hawaiian people, they read just the headline and they're like, see, this is what they do. They come over here, they buy us out, they kick us off our land, they buy us out, and then we got to go somewhere because they jack up the prices. And, the guy who owns, Larry Ellison owns the island over in Lanai, and Oprah owns a big chunk of land over in Maui. And, it's just there's just a big controversy with all these people that are supposedly buying up all the land and kicking the Hawaiians off their own land. But the sovereignty movement involves blood quantum for genealogy. They have to have a certain percent. I want to say it's like 27% or over. If they're more than like 1/4 Hawaiian bloodline, then they have Hawaiian homestead land for them. But if they're below that, they won't qualify. And another thing to keep in mind is the actual real Hawaiians, there's not very many of them. So a lot of times you get the people in the Hawaiian sovereignty movement that are Pacific Islanders, Filipino, Micronesians, other islanders who are not even indigenous to this land, but they get behind that whole rally cry of get the haole out of here. The haole. I made a video about racism, so I, some people wanted me to get a little bit more serious about it and not pretend like it was non-existent, because the Hawaiian sovereignty movement basically is they want separation from the United States, because as it stands right now, they're under U.S. rule. So anytime some rich American wants to come over here, the Hawaiian kingdom has nothing they can say or do about it. So, yeah, they are getting priced out of their own homeland, and they probably usually have to move unless they got the blood quantum of their genealogy. So it's kind of a slippery slope there. It's like, well, you got to move, and you're not enough Hawaiian to qualify to for the land. And like I said, I mean, other islanders are claiming to be Hawaiians when they're really not. So when it comes down to the blood quantum, the genealogy, they're separating who's who. That's too much for me. I just I'm like, man, I'm a person of Earth. I ended up in Hawaii. I might end up somewhere else tomorrow. I might end up back in Alaska, Norway, Sweden. Who knows? I mean, we're all humans on Earth. At the end of the day, I'm an American. So yes, I am an American. That's what my passport says. I try not to get into too much of the politics when it comes to these videos. So let's see. Another thing to keep in mind is, I mean, we talked about the price, but let's talk about some of the positives. So, after going into the negatives pretty deep there, and I don't think I covered all of them, but you get the idea. Um, Traffic. Traffic is kind of iffy here, the roads. Um, it does take some getting used to living on an island, because you are going to be so far away from your family. When you want to fly home, it's a 6-hour flight just to get to San Diego. 5-hour flight, 5 or 6 hours to get to Seattle or San Diego or LA or SFO, San Francisco. Things do slow down a lot over here. You got to slow it down, slow it down, slow down, slow down. Road rage in Hawaii is supposedly, according to a social media study, road rage was the highest per capita in Hawaii than any other state. Um, Speaking a little bit of pigeon, bro. That's, I don't really do that. They'll say things like, "Oh, that's cherry, bro." Cherry means like that's great, that's cool. So if they say that's cherry, like if they say cherry, that's what that means. If they say, um, you know, the kind, that means that's like the primo stuff. That's the goods. Um, there's just very. It's just a different. I guess you could say language vernacular, but it's like a pidgin Creole. It comes a lot from the integration of the Portuguese, the Russians, the Hawaiians, the Micronesians, the Filipinos, and it's all like an English dialect of Hawaii. Um, oh, if you want to know how to say Hawaii, it's Hawaii. The W is pronounced with like a V. So anytime you see a W, Makalavena, Hali Iva, um, Kiolave, so the W is a V in Hawaiian. Uh, Dancing, everyone's like, well, how many luau's you been to? They get this idea that they coming here and everyone luau's every day. They're like, how many luau's you go to? Did you go to the luau this weekend? It's like, and really the luau is it's a stage thing that most of the resorts and stuff do. The Hawaiian families, they do like get-togethers, but they don't do like luau's. This is a tradition. This is a custom that was passed on, and the resorts took it over because they do it for the tourists, and the tourists get all romanticized by this like this music, this Hawaiian music and stuff like that. But that's all. It's like a Disney. It's an entertainment thing. It's not a real thing. Like Hawaiians, they listen to rap music most of the time, or R&B and stuff. They that's their music. Now there are Hawaiian. I guess you could say that's not really the Hawaiians. The Hawaiians, they're just very gifted with this ability to sing music that touches people's souls. It's real. They do. They do. The Hawaiian people. Not, see, like I said, I mean, you have to be careful when you're trying to speak about Hawaiians and lumping in the Pacific Islanders who are, foreigners of this land. They're not really from here. Just as much as, just because they're from an island 6,000 miles away and it's an island in the Pacific doesn't mean that they're Hawaiian. Just like because you are from the United States and Hawaii is in the United States doesn't necessarily mean that you're Hawaiian. But for the sake of being Hawaiian, if you're born here, you're born in Hawaii. Barack Obama, he was born in Hawaii. Is he Hawaiian? A lot of people don't know that. But the real Hawaiians, we're talking about the people whose ancestors date back to like Hawaii Iki. So, let's be real. We're not gonna fake the funk. Me, I'm mixed. I got, Dutch, Scottish, Irish, French, Native American. I got a couple different things in me. I mean, so do you guys. Everybody thinks they're this thing, and then they find out, they do a DNA test and it comes out that they weren't everything that they thought they were, and then they're let down. So I just say, hey, we're on Earth, man. What are you bringing to the table, kind of thing, right? So that's kind of how I approach it. But science, they want to get involved and do genealogy tests and stake claims and make awards, because not everybody in this world is staking a claim to their indigenous territory. Some people just say, I'm part of Earth. And it seems like maybe that's kind of the direction we're just going to end up going, is instead of claiming that you are birthright to a land, whether it be Norway or United States or Brazil, it just seems like we're kind of integrating humanity, and it's just going to be what's going to happen generations from now. So we're in this shift right now where people are having to disassociate themselves with being special people of special places, and it's not. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that's what's happening. So the sooner people come to terms with the reality of the fact that multiculturalism is going to continue to happen and people are going to continue to mix more and more in the future. And just remember, they've done it in the past. We just pretend like it's something new to now. I mean, the Hawaiian people, they actually came from somewhere else according to history. Now, so far as we know, it could be possible that the Hawaiian people have been here since forever and that the science or the history on it is wrong. But the point is that everybody should be welcome where they go. If they're inside the, in this case, if you're an American, you can be welcome here. If you can afford to live here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of positives. Lifestyle's good. As far as entertainment and adventure goes, you do get a little bit tired of some things that you've done occasionally, so you might have to mix it up. The food is a little bit of a disappointment. Costco is probably a good option to have as a Costco card. Look, this is a long video. I hope I touched on some of the more relative points here in 2017 that help you make your decision. If you have any other questions, go ahead and let me know. Subscribe to my channel and talk to you then. Thank you.